Okay, here's how we get started with the journal. Now, the journal is something that we use to keep track of all of our expenses and income. So, in effect, it should match the checking account. So we have it set up to look a little bit like your bank statement so that you can compare and make it easy for you to figure out what may be out of balance. I'll show you how to do that here in just a moment. So first thing is we can go over to the journal, which is over here on the left. And at first, when we first get started, you'll see here it says, please watch the Getting Started with the Journal video. Now, you may have already been there, and that's why you're watching this video. So the first two things you want to do is think about when you want to start your accounting in Office Suite. Now, you can do this, a lot of people like to do it at the beginning of the year, even though it might be, March or October or whatever. You want to just get all of one year in the system. Or maybe you're just starting your business and you want to just get started with it like right now. So you have that opportunity. So you select a date in which you want to start your accounting in Office Suite. So we could click here. Let's just suppose we go back to the very beginning of the year. So we're going to take the date of January 1st, 2018. And how much money did we have in the account at that time? So maybe you had put $10,000 in, and you'll be able to categorize this in a little bit, but you can go ahead and put any amount. So maybe you had been running your business last year and you're switching over. So any amount you want, you can put in here and say, this is the amount that was in my bank account on the 1st of January. So you do that and just click the Save button. So you see here, it looks like we're in January of 2018. Okay, and it shows that there are no transactions because your beginning balance was the number I put in. Now, so that's where we were at the end of the year. I hope that makes sense. Now, what we do here is basically it's a matter of putting in all of your expenses and all of your income. And it's very simple. This big plus button down at the bottom, the red plus button, brings open a menu. So we can put in deposits and we can put in expenses. And of course we can write checks, but right now we're just trying to get up to date. So we started putting in expenses. When we click that, it brings open this panel here. And it's quite simple. We first and most importantly, we select the date of that expense. So if we're going all the way back to, we can select it like this, a little bit easier. Select January and say, okay, on the 8th, we had this expense of $250, maybe just setting up your business. Okay, you can link that to a vendor. So you can click here, and if you put in your vendors and you put in your, you can go ahead and search for whoever that might be. So we have here we got Sharon Williams, so we could just picks up a couple of different letters of something. So look when it's looking for it. So you can just look for a vendor. So if you don't have the vendor, you can click here and it goes right to add a vendor right here. So we have that opportunity. It makes it a little bit easier. So we're still here. We put in $250, and we can make it a miscellaneous expense for right now. We can just say that was that was our state registration fee. So we can put in any kind of description, and so you look back 6 months, a year later, you know exactly what it was. And you can change this later if you want to associate it with someone. So obviously we set it up with some expense categories for you, and you can add those later, and I'll show you that in a minute, how we can add and remove expense categories and different types of things like that. So we come in here and we say, okay, that was legal and professional, and we go ahead and click Save, and that shows us this panel here. Now before we leave this, if we have lots to do, we can go ahead and click Save and go to the next expense. So we can do it like this and add another expense in, and we can say, okay, back in January again, on the 10th, we had, say for instance, we had some bank fees of $1.23. You don't have to put a description in here. Of course, there's a category, so you have that. Boom, done. Now, as you can see, there are ways to split expenses. So if you paid something by credit card and there are multiple things there, I'll show you that in just a moment. And so this one will go to January again, and say we paid a credit card on the 25th of January and we paid, oh, any weird amount of money like this. That's how much we paid that paid the credit card off. We can link it to American Express or to your bank or whatever. Okay, so you can put in here that was partially for, this, that, and the other thing. So you put your big description in, but I want to show you how you can split the expense. So if you come over here, you see the full amount is in there. You choose a category and say we ran an ad for $200. Okay, and you can see there's 552 that's unassigned. So you split it and you'd say, okay, we also paid a fee to our accountant to set up the books. Okay, so we put in there $150 for that, and there's 419 assigned, and the 419 was for, say, add another one. We can just say for somebody charges for some outside services, and we can just put the 402.19. Shows the difference there, and you can see the total amount is assigned, and we save it. So now we have them all here, and we can put the description in here if we want. But this flows to your profit and loss statement, so you can see exactly where you spent the money. So that's how it keeps track of expenses. So we just save that. So if we want to take a look at the journal, we just click here and see what it looks like. So we can see those expenses in there. Now, if you have a receipt, it's very cool. You have a receipt for something. Let's take that this one here, this last one. And we can say view the details. Okay, so we can edit that expense. And again, we can put some more. We didn't put any comments in there, but you can choose a file to upload an image. That image, I would suggest you take a picture of a receipt, or you can scan something, but it'll be in your computer. So the picture, you would just go email it to yourself and drop that into your receipts file from your email. So you just go right to your receipts file. So here's how we would do that. We choose a file, and we'd go to receipts, and we see different receipts, and we'd pick one of those. So we go here and just say pick that, and then it would upload that document in there as your image. And so when you save it, you see we go to the journal, and it shows here there's an attachment. So you can keep track of all those receipts like that. Okay, so now we have some income. Let's talk about that a little bit. We have a miscellaneous deposit. So money can come in, and say if you put money into the business, say you added, say, $2,500, you wanted to add that. You go ahead and pick the date, and we go to, say, for instance, you put that in the first couple weeks of January. Okay, so you put it here, and you put that down as a member investment, and you save that. You put money into the account. Okay, so then you can put in owner investment to start business. All right, then you save that. And so we'll see if we just reload that page. We can see that we have the $2,500 deposit in there. So when you start having some things in here, you'll see that in the reporting section, you'll see if we ran a profit and loss statement, and we put in here the dates for January 1st to January 31st, do a profit and loss. Okay, so you can see here it doesn't show any income because that was an equity investment, but that will show up in your balance sheet. So there's no income yet, and we had, see how these breaks out these expenses here. Okay, so that's all working. So you're running in the negative because we've spent $1,003.42, and that's how that works. Okay, so that information flows directly there. So let's go back to the journal for a moment. So anytime you have, let's say for instance we have a miscellaneous deposit, and we can say that came in as income, and that the date of that would be, say we did that, the deposit was made on January, say January 12th, and somebody paid us $1,000, and we put that here as a category, and basically that would be sales income, and we save that, and then that was, from Bob Jones. Now you don't always have to put this information, because actually when you sell something, it automatically flows to that account, and so it's not only in the client's account, but it flows to the journal. But this is maybe somebody just paid you a check and so you just want to keep track of it. But maybe this wouldn't be a good example of sales income, but it's some kind of income. Now, what we'll do is we'll add one in for just some other miscellaneous deposit. Let's just put in here maybe that it was a refund. Okay, so it's would be income, and we put the date in January, and we got a refund of $12.52, category refund, and we save that, and we receive that by way of transfer, and that was for returned items to Office Depot, something like that. So we save that, and then you can take a picture of that receipt and add it to there. So we can see that we have a variety of things that's starting to build up here, all in the month of January. Now ultimately you'll get everything done in January. You can just continue and put in those, put the right date in, or what you can do is you can close the month out at the end of a month, and you do a month-end summary. Okay, and what you would do is it says complete the month and the oldest first, and that would be January of 2018. You can see these are all overdue, and we're doing this in the month of September. So when I go ahead and complete that, it'll close out January, and what you want to do is make sure you check that with your checkbook, your bank account, and make sure that the balance is correct, because what you're actually going to see here is the balance in your checking account will match this. If it doesn't, here's something very cool. Suppose you wrote a check or something didn't show up in your bank and you don't know how much it is. Say this one here didn't show up. If you just click on it, it takes it out. So watch this number change when I add it back. So you can just see, oh, that's the one that never cleared yet. So it's very easy to use this to pull something out that didn't show up. So that's basically it, and how to get your journal started. Let's say, for instance, if you want to add something to your categories, your expense categories and whatnot. So we go to Admin Control Panel. There's the income expense categories, and we see we have a number of them in here for you already. Okay. Now what you can do, you can take one out if you want. You can disable it, or you enable it. Okay, so you can get rid of anything. You can add something. It's very easy. Add a category, and then subcategories. For example, say for instance bank charges. Subcategories, you can see the list here when you click on it: bank fees and credit card processing fees. Okay, so if you want to put subcategories under any of these particular ones, you can, and you get an option to call it income, expense, or both. So a reason we'd have both: commission and fees. If you put a deposit in for commission, that'd be money you received. If you put it and you had to pay somebody commission, you can put that into an expense. So you can use the same category for both, and it takes care of itself in the profit and loss. So it makes it a little bit easier. So I hope that makes sense. Then we have the asset and liability categories. It's basically the same thing. You have current assets already in there: long-term investments, property, plant, equipment, intangibles, current liabilities, long-term liabilities, and equities. So you can see here in the subcategories, I put in member investment in case you put money in, but you don't want that to show as income. But it does flow over to your balance sheet, and it's going to show, and I'll show you how that is in the reports. So we click the big button here. We go to reporting. We'll take a look at, then you don't have to put in a date for the balance sheet because there is no date needed for that. And you'll see that $2,500 member investment show up there right here, equity. Okay, so that takes care of that. So all that information just flows automatically. I hope that made sense and I get you off on the right foot. Listen, if you have any problems, you can click here, of course, support feedback. You got video tutorials, wiki pages, which would be, of course, anything that's in writing that if you prefer to read it that way. And you have, the different action menu. But the contact support page here, you can select how you want to send something to us: complaint, a suggestion, or just general inquiry. You can type it here and send it, and it'll get right back to you. So keep in touch with us and let us know if there's anything that you need or any challenges that you have. And good luck.